Need some coins to that God Squad you've always wanted? Check out mudpacks.com where you guys can open up exciting packs, win tons of mud coins, and withdraw the coins to your account. Use code ZIRK for 15% off.
The whole thing wobbin', wobbin'. When I come around, got the whole thing wobbin'.
Today we're continuing on my Madden 24 Ultimate Team Core Elite predictions, and today we're going to be doing running backs. I do want to give a shout out to Lando Spencer for being a part of the Nota Gang. If you guys want a chance to shout out in the next video, drop a like in the vid. Make sure you guys are subbed to the channel. Turn notification bell on and comment down below. Nota Gang. Now I also want to say shout out to guys that sign up at Underdog Fantasy using code ZIRK, which not only matched first deposit up to $100, but you also got this exclusive Volk special for this Saturday fight, which I believe this video is getting posted after Saturday. So hopefully Volk actually won the fight. I really want him to win. But if you guys missed out on this special, make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy and use code ZIRK so you guys don't miss out on any more exclusive code ZIRK only specials. There's sure to be more to come. And again, I do want to mention here, guys, that I'm only going to be doing the top 10 at the position when it comes to these overall. So all those lower overall guys, you know, the 80s, the 81s, whatever, we had a lot, specifically running backs. We had a ton of core elite running backs last year. So there's going to be a lot of guys that are maybe 80s, 81s, 82s, whatever, that are not going to be on this list today. So just keep in mind, your favorite player may not be on the list. Let's get into it. And again, something that I do want to mention to you guys well when it comes to these running backs in every single position as well, when it comes to a player who has already been in the league for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and they have kind of like a breakout season, EA, when it comes to players who have breakout seasons, don't always tend to make them, I would say, accurately rated. Just like if you compare their stats to other players around their overalls, if someone had like a low 80 overall or maybe had even a gold card, whatever, but they had one of the best seasons in the NFL, they may not even end up being the highest overall player at that position. Take a look at Jonathan Taylor coming into Madden 23. He was not even the highest overall running back and almost won MVP. So just keep that in mind. But starting off the list, this is actually going to be an honorable mention, and I'm only adding him on as an honorable mention simply because he is the same overall as some other players that I have on this list here. So I wanted to include him so you guys don't think I'm just ignoring him here. But Miles Sanders, I do think is going to be an 83 overall. He was with the Eagles, and now he's going to be with the Panthers. Also, when players move teams, whether they be traded or cut or whatever, aside from Tyreek Hill, he was an 87 overall coming to Madden 23. It seems like EA, for some reason, like lowers their ratings when they go to a new system. Not sure why exactly like to do that, but they do. Miles Sanders, though, monster season, 1,269 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns as well. And then receiving-wise, he did have 20 catches for 78 yards. No touchdowns there, though. So Miles Sanders, honorable mention. I think he gets 83 overall. Coming up next at number 10, this is the official start of the list, I have Tony Pollard. Again, I think that Tony Pollard is going to be the same overall as Miles Sanders, and 83 overall. Only at 193 carries, though. This man had 1,007 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He had 9 rushing TDs, and then receiving-wise, he had 39 catches for 371 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, he had a 79 overall coming into Madden 23. Again, I think he's going to be at 83 overall. I think that jump is obviously very due, seeing as to how to get this 79 overall card, all he had was 719 rushing yards and 2 rushing TDs, and then receiving wise 337 yards and 0 TDs. So going from 2 touchdowns to 12 total TDs, and also adding on top of that another 300 total yards. Yeah, I think he's going to an 83. Now, Aaron Jones had an 82 overall coming into Madden 23, and I gotta say, this is a really, really interesting one, but I do think he gets a slight bump up to 83 overall from 82, simply due to the amount of rushing yards that he was able to actually compile here, because he actually had 1,121 rushing yards, whereas the year previous, he only had 799. However, his TDs did go down from 4 to 2, and then he added on 2 more additional fumbles as well. Now, in the receiving game, he had 1 less receiving touchdown, 4 more receiving yards, and 7 more catches. So I think that's simply because he was able to get pretty much an additional 400 rushing yards, that he should likely get the bump up to 83. If he's only an 82 overall to start of Madden 24, I wouldn't be too shocked, but I think he does get a +1. Now, Dalvin Cook is also a really interesting one because this is one of those players that I was talking about because they are going to a new team. I don't know why EA does it, but they love to, as I said, kind of lower their overalls or not rate them correctly if they just stayed on the same team. EA just consistently does that. I know Tyreek Hill is kind of an outlier there, but that's also Tyreek Hill. Dalvin Cook, though, in 17 games, had 1,173 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 3 fumbles. Receiving-wise, had 2 receiving TDs, 39 catches, and 295 yards. Now, if I told you that he had 14 more rushing yards and 2 more rushing touchdowns, you would maybe think that he would stay in 85 overall. Well, the thing is, though, he only had 14 more rushing yards and 2 more rushing TDs in 4 more games that he played previously. And as I said, he is going to be on a new team as well. So come back to this video when he's in 84, because I don't think he's going to be in 85. Next up, we have Austin Ekeler, which I'm going to have him here as an 85 overall. Coming into Madden 23, he was an 84. But he had 915 rushing yards with 13 rushing TDs, only 1 more rushing touchdown, and 4 more rushing yards in 1 more game. He did also have 3 fumbles, whereas last year he only had 0. So that's not very great, right? But why do I have him going +1? Well, that's because what he was able to do in the receiving game. He had 37 more catches, making it over 100 catches at 107. And he also had 5 receiving TDs, which is actually down from 8. But I do think that with Austin Ekeler being able to get over 100 catches, that is pretty phenomenal, and I do believe that he is going to be an 85 overall. Next up, we have Saquon Barkley, who arguably could have won the Comeback Player of the Year this past year had Geno Smith not been so good as well. But in 2022, we had 1,312 rushing yards, 10 rushing TDs, and he also had 57 catches with 0 receiving touchdowns, however. But I do think that Saquon Barkley here, he is going to be up to an 85 overall. EA loves Saquon Barkley. I remember going into Madden 22, he had an 84 overall card, and in the year previous, all he did was play in 2 games, and that's when he got injured and only had 34 total yards, and they gave him an 84 to start off the year. Now, when he came back the next year, he did play in 13 games, had 593 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is why they dropped him from an 84 to an 81. But EA loves Saquon Barkley. They always give him, in my opinion, higher overall cards. Maybe he should have gotten like that 84 overall. I didn't think that was too deserving of when he only played in 2 games. But I do think that Saquon had a monster comeback season, and as I said, they love him. So 85, yeah, that sounds about right. Now, to start off Madden 23, Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, was a heavy snub at getting the 88 overall running back. I absolutely feel like he should have been the highest overall running back to start off Madden 23, which is a point I will bring up here with another player's ratings very, very soon, because Jonathan Taylor had 1,811 yards and 18 rushing TDs with 360 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns, and still was not the highest overall running back to start off Madden 23, which was absolutely insane. But this year, he only played in 11 games. He had 861 yards, only 4 rushing touchdowns, no receiving TDs, 28 catches, and 143 yards. So for that reason, I am going to drop Jonathan Taylor down from his 87 to an 86. But I do feel like EA will be kind of forgiving because he did play still in 11 games, had somewhat decent numbers for those 11 games, not really crazy, obviously, compared to the year prior, but Jonathan Taylor, I think he's going to be an 86. You know how I just mentioned Jonathan Taylor and how he wasn't the highest overall running back with the crazy season that he had where he almost won MVP and he did win the Offensive Player of the Year? Well, Josh Jacobs, my friend, you are in a similar boat. I have him coming in at an 86 overall to start off Madden 24. He had 1,653 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. He also did have 400 receiving yards on 53 catches. No receiving TDs, though, to add on to that. So Josh Jacobs, like I said, these players, right, they just don't really go from 82 to 88 or even 87 overall. That's really rare, which is what happened with Jonathan Taylor. I believe he was only like an 80 overall to start off Madden 22, and he went up to an 87 to start Madden 23. Jacobs, I feel like an 86 overall is absolutely perfect. If he was an 87, would it shock me? Not necessarily, but I also don't see 3 87 overall running backs, which I have on this list. And the first 87 overall running back that I think we'll see is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had a monster season again. 1,525 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns as well. Also had a receiving TD, 27 catches, and 239 yards. Nick Chubb had an 86 overall coming in Madden 23, and going into Madden 24, I think 87 overall is perfect. Now, I must say, Christian McCaffrey is a really interesting one here, because I'll be honest with you guys, I really struggle to not say Christian McCaffrey should be the one and only 88 overall running back to start off Madden 24. And in my opinion, I feel like he might be the best running back in the entire NFL. Obviously, when he got traded to the 49ers, they utilized him a lot better. The system was literally perfect, handmade for Christian McCaffrey and his skill set. CMC, just ridiculous, right? He had 1,139 rushing yards, 8 rushing TDs as well. But receiving-wise, between the two teams, he had 85 catches for another over 700 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. So CMC, it's really tough for me not to say he should be an 88, but yeah, I'm coming in at an 87 overall. And yes, I do have Derrick Henry actually returning as the highest overall running back in Madden 24 at an 88 overall. And you might say, well, how does that make any sense? You just said CMC had a monster season. Well, here's the thing. You can see Derrick Henry's an 88, right? What did he do to get this 88 overall card to start off Madden 23? Well, he only played in 8 games, had 937 rushing yards, but he did have 10 rushing TDs. So, again, he only played in 8 games. He had 937 yards. Obviously, he was coming off the season where he had 2,000 yards with 17 rushing TDs. And then that following year is when he only played 8 games. But I fully expected Jonathan Taylor to be an 88, Derrick Henry being 87. So you know what? I'm flipping my logic, and Derrick Henry's going to be an 88 overall to start off Madden 24. Now, he didn't have a bad season. He had 1,538 rushing yards. He also had 13 rushing TDs in 16 games, and then he also had almost 400 receiving yards, 398, which is his career high, as well as 33 receptions. So Derrick Henry, 1,500 rushing yards, a lot of touchdowns, and a career high in receiving yards as well as receptions. I think he repeats as the highest overall running back in Madden 24. So with that being said, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video, and if you did, make sure you guys drop a like in the video, and of course hit that sub button down below. Let me know some other running backs that you guys think will be core elites to start off Madden 24. If you guys enjoyed this video, check out these.